New week, new money, as I like to say, and here we go. SportsGrid's college football today. Donnie, Rightside, and Joe Lisi. Week number 7. Where'd the time go, Joe? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and even week 0, out the door. Let's go.
Yeah, we have Red River rivalry today. Indiana, Oregon, Missouri, Alabama. Doesn't get better than this. Week number 7. Conference championships on the line. Title odds as well, so we'll see how it plays out. But again, which player as well in these big matchups will step up, potentially Heisman Trophy frontrunners and dark horses, we'll find out today.
A lot of good stuff to go over. The biggest names, the biggest games, the best props. We cover it right here on the SportsGrid Network, Joe. I'm excited to be here with you today. And also, you know what we like to do, like before we jump right into the big game of the day, which will be Alabama and Missouri. South Florida, Joe, legitimate program, 21-21 in a big game in Denton, Texas last night. Absolutely blew the doors off of the Mean Green.
Yeah, they were actually a 1.5 underdog, and then all of a sudden they fall behind 14-7. Physicality, Byron Brown and that offensive line wore down, I want to say, a glass house and just a Fugazi type of defense in North Texas, but they were able to run the football. They made adjustments at halftime. Alex Golesh and this team are trending potentially to be a dark horse for a group of 5 contender for the college football playoff. So again, Donnie, this is what it's all about. We saw great action last night. Does it carry in to the early action today?
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun to watch it play out. And I said we got some big games on the docket today each and every week. Joe, you take a look at who's going to be winning their actual, conferences, but nonetheless, the Heisman Trophy race. Each and every week, it changes up. You see guys at the top of the standings fall back here. Big games every single week, Joe. These kids have to perform, and that's what we look for each week.
Yeah, Arch Manning is one guy, right? He didn't step up last week. They got absolutely punched in the face by Florida. We both like Florida in that matchup.
Yeah,
Texas started slow, but he's got to answer some questions today in the Red River rivalry. John Mateer potentially will play in this matchup. They're 1.5-point favorites. We saw fluctuation. Texas open up as much as a 2.5-point favorite in this ball game. If Mateer can't go, it will be the backup Michael Hawkins, experienced quarterback, but a significant drop-off from where Mateer is with the experience and the passing attack. But again, Oklahoma should be the team to beat today.
How about if we take a look, Joe, because we're going to have some fun. Alabama and Missouri is going to be on deck, but the Red River rivalry does take place at the Texas State Fair, Joe. We're not big on state fairs here in the Northeast per much, but you see big Tex down there and all the food you can eat. I would love to be at a state fair, by the way.
It's great. It's great. That's.
What are you eating there, though? You don't eat, like,
what do you mean, ribs?
Have just
Ribs, burgers, steak.
Yeah, but you're going to eat it with the buns, though. You try to fry
no bun.
dog?
No, stop.
You can't go down there and be like, let me get a corn dog and like what? Just a hot dog
No,
itself?
you got to. No, with the state fair. If we had a state fair here with a major college football game, if Rutgers could ever step up, potentially, they get blasted last night by Washington. I would definitely do ribs.
State fair sponsored by William Patterson University. You know what I mean? I could
Donnie Rightside, Donnie Seymour collecting the MVP for the right.
Hey, don't be throwing my government name around here on these channels, man. It's Donnie Rightside to you at this point. Well, let's get to the fun here, Joe. Get started. Alabama and Missouri, a monster day in the SEC. Unbeaten Missouri Tigers at home. They're going to take on Alabama today. Let's take a look at some of the numbers. Opened up at 6.5 to start the week. We're down to 3.5, Joe. I checked the ticket counts. 6 out of every 10 tickets coming in on Missouri. It looks like the public is buying Missouri over Alabama.
It's interesting right now because you would think Alabama, fresh off the win against Georgia and what they were able to do against Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt last week, covering as a 12.5-point home favorite in that matchup, would still get the public love. But we're seeing a team with Eli Drinkwitz in Missouri that's dominant at home. Dating back to 2020, they are 32-7 straight up. 7-0 last year, Donnie. They won those games by an average margin of victory of 16.5 points per game. This year, they're 5-0 at home against FBS opponents. They've won those games by an average margin of victory of 24.5 points per game. They're averaging 292 rushing yards in this matchup, heading into it with Bo Prabula, their quarterback, and Ahmad Hardy, the FBS leading rusher. Can Alabama shut down the run? Will ultimately dictate if they win this game or not. Should be interesting. I'm going to take the points, though, with the Missouri Tigers. I like the over, though. Think we get points aplenty.
By the way, take a look at the last time we saw Missouri, Joe, was against UMass. Now, they handled them pretty easily. UMass bad program, 42-6, but the bye week kicks in and they're at home. That is a big deal. But understand this. You know me. I like to get into some of the details, Joe. How Missouri got here. Central Arkansas, Kansas, UL, South Carolina, UMass. not the greatest run-through, if we're being honest, of teams that you have to get prepared for and get ready for. You look at Alabama. We saw that opening night. It's like, oh, no, what's wrong with Alabama? They've corrected themselves. Now, great programs, not necessarily with ULM or Wisconsin, but wins over Georgia and Vanderbilt, now a legitimate team in the SEC. Tell me, if we look at these schedules, why I'm trusting Missouri, Joe.
Well, again, you're just hoping that the home dog is barking in this matchup. Again, they're going to be prepared for Alabama, but all Alabama's done since their week 1 loss to Florida State is answer the bell, especially in road environments. They walk into Athens, they snap a 33-game home winning streak by the Georgia Bulldogs, pull it out as a slight underdog, 2.5-point dogs. They win it 24-21. Ty Simpson's playing like a Heisman Trophy contender right now, 340 yards. Last week, he's completing well over 60% of his passes, 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions right now, Donnie. To me, 13-1. He is the guy that will be the catalyst right now. He's got Bernard, he's got Ryan Williams. If they start fast, it's going to be hard, I believe, for Prabula to match them score for score. But again, styles make fights. If Alabama can't shut down the run, Missouri's going to be in this matchup.
Watching the television there, certainly taking a look at Ty Simpson. He does factor into the Heisman race. And let's have some fun with this, Joe, because we do know Oregon has a monster game. We're going to get to that against Indiana and talk about Dante Moore. But right now, let's call it Dante Moore a 5-1 price to win the Heisman Trophy. Carson Beck idle this week, Joe, 6-1 price. And then you see Jeremiah Smith, wide receiver for Ohio State, listed at plus 850. But right behind them, Joe, or should I say tied, plus 850 with Ty Simpson. Dante Moore and Oregon get beat today. Ty Simpson puts on a show. He's going to lead the clubhouse, right?
Yeah, when you just think about top 20, top 15 matchups now, Ty Simpson's the guy. Again, week 1 is a long time ago. You go on the road to face top-ranked Georgia and get the outright victory. That brings you closer to a Heisman Trophy. You go into a tough environment where Missouri's been dominant at home. You put up 300-plus yards, and you get this victory and cover. He's going to be right there. So, again, he has the body of work up until this point. It's still up in the air right now, but you would have to say if Ty Simpson performs in Columbia today, he's going to be one of the front runners potentially to steal the Heisman.
Usually in the SEC, or should I say growing up in the SEC as if the early 2000s, more of a defensive conference. They've really widened it up. But how about this, Joe? Missouri and Alabama open up at 55.5 as a total. Some outlets at 52.5. I'm even seeing DraftKings, Joe, 51.5. Are we buying a total in this game or a defense?
Well, I think you look at last year, Alabama shut them out. It was 34-0 in that matchup. Brady Cook and the offense of attack with Carroll couldn't run the football effectively. It was 13-0 at halftime, and then they pulled away with Jalen Morrell in the second half of that matchup. For me, Donnie, it's going to come down to if Ty Simpson's effective early. I think we blow through this total. It was 51.5 about 24 hours ago. We're seeing 52.5s creep into the market, but I still think we can get this game into the high 60s if both offenses are hitting on all cylinders. But it is up to Alabama to dictate this tempo.
You know what I like about this, too? Like Ty Simpson, okay, he's played 3 teams that are, like Penn State opens up the season. Oh, quarterback, let's just say, put up good statistics. That's not the case with Ty Simpson. He's had 3 elevated games, Joe. 111 for 158, 13 touchdowns, 1 interception, and close to 1,500 passing yards. When I look at this game and I say to myself, I believe it's on Ty Simpson, but, Joe, Jam Miller back. Looking like the Jam Miller we thought he was going to be in that backfield for Bama.
He's a physical runner, and that's going to be the matchup. You look at Missouri, very good in run support, holding opposing offenses to 62 rushing yards per game, less than 3 yards per carry. Alabama's averaging $125 heading into this matchup, but that was mostly without Jam Miller in that lineup. Last week he performed, got the touchdown to give Alabama the cover. He's a physical runner. The more you feed him, the more he produces. Again, he should eat today.
Now, I'm really excited to watch that one play out and also the game we're going to get to next. But Bo Prabula at quarterback here, Drew Alger at Penn State. Maybe it could be different for Penn State if they switched quarterbacks at that point, but obviously you can't do that right now. But how are we feeling today? Week number 7 in college football, SportsGrid College Football today. Donnie Rightside and Joe Lisi. We'll be right back. Let's head out to the Pacific Northwest in Oregon.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
this event, people from Amazon and Alexa made it very clear that in addition to Sports Highlight coming up, you will be able to perhaps buy sports tickets to events, buy movie tickets, arrange fantasy football teams, and I think somewhere down the road, and maybe not too far down the road, given the NBA on Prime deal, they will allow sports betting on the television set through Alexa Plus.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
What worries me, for the future, for the rest of this season for the 49ers is Christian McCaffrey, because all these other guys are out. This guy is getting more workload than anybody else in the NFL. The catches, the carries, the blocking, the chip blocks, the protection. He is just being worked over, and I don't think that is, real good for the 49ers.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
We're getting a lot of optimism here, which I don't know about. This isn't a 21-year-old football player, a devastating knee injury that basically blew, the kneecap and also multiple ligaments. And I was like, surgery, awesome, be back for next year. He might be back for next year, but the Tyreek Hill we're used to, Joe, electric on the field where nobody can catch him. People are going to be catching him now, Joe.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
60,000 drunk New Yorkers who were there from 5 in the morning to 7 p.m., who dropped a house mortgage on a ticket to watch the United States team miss every putt that they can possibly miss, and you think someone's not going to get pissed off and curse people out? Wah! The golf fan wasn't civil. Wah!
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid college football today, week 7 action. Donnie Rightside along with Joe Lisi. The fun has only begun. Got through one game there talking about Alabama. Don't you worry, guys. We'll get to the prop bets. We'll get to the bets. We have you covered here, but we like to hit the biggest games of the day right off the bat. One of those games, Joe, Pacific Northwest. That's going to be Indiana and Oregon. Feels weird to me still saying it's a Big Ten game. It feels like it's a Pac-10, Big Ten game at this point, but obviously we know that's not the case. The opening line, Joe, for this game, minus 10.5 for Oregon. Been bet down at most outlets at 7 now, as you see the graphic with 7.5. These lines certainly going to change right up till game time. A 3:30 start, Joe, a total of 53.5. Are we believing that Indiana should be the team drawing the money? And also, do we believe that 7 is an appropriate price point?
Well, I think a lot of people are buying into the fact that Penn State lost to UCLA, and I've heard a lot of people say that, you can't really credit Oregon for that victory a couple weeks ago in Happy Valley where they knocked off Penn State in overtime. I totally disagree with that type of assessment. You were getting Penn State's best at that particular time. It was a whiteout. They didn't step up, and that was a credit to Dan Lanning and the defensive game plan containing Drew Aller and, more importantly, the rushing attack. So, again, I do feel that Oregon should be favored significantly in this matchup. You just look at their dominance under Dan Lanning basically over 3 years at home, 22-1 straight up, Donnie. Last year they were 7-0 and won those games by an average margin of victory of 16.5 points per game. They're 3-0 at home this year. The two FBS games, Oregon State and Oklahoma State, they won those games by an average margin of victory of 50 points per game. So, yes, I do feel the opening line was legit, 10.5. We've seen money come in on Kirk Cignetti, but they're going to have to bring their A game if they win it today.
I love, it's almost like you love that it's Indiana and Oregon, but also at the same time, you love that it's Cignetti taking on Dan Lanning, like two of the most abrasive personalities that if they're your coaches, you absolutely love them to be on your side. But, Joe, let's understand this, too. 9/27, September 27th, why are we bringing this up? This is the last time these two teams played on the field. So you have that extra bye week to get ready. So let me ask you this quick question. Who do you think that benefits here?
I think the home team, people will say potentially it's always the underdog, but in this type of assessment where Oregon's coming off the Penn State game, right, and they get the top 5 victory and obviously that emotion, it gives them a week to reset. Dante Moore, I believe has stepped up. We've seen Indiana in the spot against more physical teams. Notre Dame and Ohio State last year couldn't shut down the run. They got beat up in the trenches, and that's going to be the matchup today. If Indiana can run the football, they're averaging well over 200 yards per game. Then Fernando Mendoza, their starting quarterback, Heisman frontrunner at one point during the season, potentially could work off a play action. But if they're in long third down situations and that front seven could get after it, I think Oregon has the advantage. Now, Indiana converting around 52%, that's going to be the matchup today. They have to run the football. We'll see how it plays out.
If we take a look at the two quarterbacks, Joe, certainly in that Heisman Trophy conversation, Mendoza there for Indiana, and also more as we take a look at for Oregon. If we focus on Mendoza, 16 touchdowns, Joe, 1 interception, 1,208 passing yards, and then more, 14 touchdowns and 1 interception. The thing we love is both of these coaches are very good offensive minds. There's no question about that. But these quarterbacks certainly pulling up the stats saying, you know what, we can play in these big moments. If I do, Joe, ask you a question. You look at Indiana. We know they can score. Like Kennesaw State, Indiana State. But the Illinois game really raises up for me because that was 63-10. Iowa, I throw out the window because you're just not going to score points because they don't allow you to score points because they don't want to go fast. But how does this offense transition by going out to Austin? Because that home field advantage is unbelievable. Joe, you can't hear yourself think.
Yeah, it's like 4 points. I really believe that. It's a 4-point advantage, and then you just look at the playmakers that they have. I will say, too, when you look at the defenses, Donnie, 2 of the top defenses as it relates to the pass defense. Secondaries are playing lights out. Indiana right now holding opposing offenses right in the area of about 123 passing yards per game. They've only allowed 1 passing touchdown for 7 interceptions. You have an Oregon secondary that's holding opposing quarterbacks to 52% in terms of completion rate. They've 2 passing touchdowns, 5 interceptions forced. So both quarterbacks have to be efficient, but it relates to the rushing attack. When I look at Oregon, though, they're prepared for each and every game. They're going and playing at home. I think that's a huge factor. I told you 4 points at least. And I do give the edge on both quarterbacks from what I've seen to Dante Moore. He answered every question in that matchup against Penn State. He's mobile. Even though Mendoza's battle-tested, this is a tough animal. You look at the recruiting. You got to give the edge to Dan Lanning in Oregon, top 5 talent over the past 2 or 3 seasons. Again, it might be a close game early, but in the end, I do feel Oregon covers.
Which is great. I want to ask you this question, too. We see that total, 53.5, and immediately go to, wait a second, both of these offenses absolutely, Joe, can get up and down the field. But if we focus on the defenses, and again, I'm going to include all the games that they played, whether it's high-level competition or a little bit lower, Joe. ODU, 14 points. Talk about Indiana first. 14 points. Kennesaw, 9 points. Indiana State didn't score. Illinois, 10 points. Iowa, 15 points. Then, Joe, we flip it over to Oregon. 13 points, 3 points, 14 points, 7 points, then the 24 points that you saw last week against Penn State in double overtime. These defenses are good, Joe.
Yeah, they're great. They're great. You talk about Indiana holding opposing offenses to 88 rushing yards per game.
Impressive.
Oregon only allowing 114 to opposing offenses. Again, and you go back to the ODO, Old Dominion win. Old Dominion has the #1 ranked rush offense in the nation, averaging well over 7 yards per carry. So to shut down that offense at that point in the season, that was a dominant effort for Indiana. Again, I think it's important, too, if you're back in Indiana in this game, they have to start fast. They started fast last year against Ohio State, jumped out 7-0, but from a talent perspective, on the road, they just couldn't contain that offense for the Buckeyes. It's going to be very important in this matchup for Fernando Mendoza, I believe, in Indiana. Score first, establish the run, and then that could carry through potentially into the second half of the matchup. But we're talking, too, which team is going to force turnovers. Indiana positive in turnover margin, one of the best in all of FBS, Donnie.
And the thing they have to love, too, with the way they have structured now, Joe, the Big Ten, this is a massive game here, but it certainly doesn't knock the loser out of it where they can't sort of regain their footing. 5-0 Indiana Hoosiers, 5-0 Oregon Ducks, both of these teams 2-0 in the Big Ten. And I know I like to ask you this question. It's really hypothetical. Like, who does need it more, though? Honestly.
I think Indiana.
Okay.
Indiana because, again, they're the team. We know what Oregon, right? Undefeated in the regular season last year. They were the Big Ten champs. For Indiana, they have to answer the bell. People are saying that 63-10 victory over Brett Bielema in the Illinois was just an outlier. Can it continue on the road? And again, that could be a make it or break it for them potentially to be an at-large team.
Yeah, very interested to see how this one's going to play out. But you have 2 Heisman Trophy quarterbacks, 2 coaches that you absolutely love to hate. Fantastic offenses, even better defenses here. A 3:30 start, which means, Joe, a 12:30 start out on the West Coast, something really to keep an eye on. Let me just ask you this quick question. Which running back you backing in this game? Would it be Hemby, Hill Jr.? Like, who is the guy that's going to dominate the ground game?
I think it would be Hemby. I mean, that's me, though. But again, we'll see how this game plays out. But that's the way I'm leaning right now. I like both quarterbacks on the ground as well.
Let's lean on the Cotton Bowl, Joe. You know we're going next. Big Tech style Red River rivalry next.
Shedeur Sanders will be starting for the Browns by week 9. I am buying this. I am buying this absolutely. At a certain point, Joe Flacco just not the answer. We know they already made the change. Dylan Gabriel is starting this week. We know that. But maybe a team needs a quarterback, and they're willing to trade for Joe Flacco for some level of stability, and then we simply get nothing out of Dylan Gabriel. He is a rookie quarterback when it's all said and done. Maybe there's just no production from him. So why not just move on to a different rookie quarterback that you have just to see what you have? And then, as George, as you mentioned up at the top, you have to evaluate going into next year's draft. So I will absolutely buy this.
The next 4 weeks, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Miami, New England. I mean, the question is this. If they truly believe that Gabriel could be a future starter, you got to give him more than 4 weeks, right? That's 4 weeks is not enough. Minnesota, that's a rough game, all right, being played with England this week. Pittsburgh, they haven't have a defense. Miami is not very good. New England's supposed to have a good defense, hasn't here. I'm going to sort of go. I mean, I think Shedeur Sanders is going to start at some point this week. I don't think it's going to be by week 10, although that does make sense here to name him the starter during the bye week, get him 2 weeks here. I'm going to go more, maybe double digits, week 12, week 14, somewhere around there. Because I want to give Gabriel a longer run. I think Gabriel might do some damage here against these lesser defenses here. So I like to give him a longer runway here. That being said, I do not think Gabriel is the long-term future of this team. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback at all here. I think he's a number 2 at best here. Sanders could be a number 1. I have doubts about him too. I think Sanders has a better shot. So by week 9, by week 10, I'll sell that. But if you're going to give me a couple more weeks, I would have bought it.
Fantasy Sports Today. Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Only on SportsGrid.
Red River rivalry right here on SportsGrid College Football Today. Week 7 action. Donnie Rightside along with Joe Lisi. Now, understand this. This is a rivalry played at a neutral site every year, which I kind of dig, though, the Cotton Bowl. Half of that burnt orange, half of the red there for Oklahoma. It adds to the pageantry going back 20, 30 years. Like, I remember just, sitting there in my early days of the 2000s, Adrian Peterson running wild. Like, they had some superstar players and superstar games in this series, Joe.
I'm going to show my age. I remember Gerald Moore. Remember him with the Rams back in the day? I mean, I could go back to the days of Butch Hadnot and Peter Gardere in 1990. I mean, Eric Metcalf. That's how old I am, right? But the fact that it's played on a neutral site, and I'm glad that we didn't move it to Arlington in Jerry's house or like some of these other rivalries, A&M and Arkansas. The fact that they kept it at the Cotton Bowl, they kept it true, they kept it legit. We didn't move it tonight as well. 3:30 kick, got to be great. It used to be at 12 noon, but hey, as long as it's in the afternoon, there's nothing better. We'll see if John Mateer plays in this game. Again, he's going to give it a go, but Donnie, it's his thumb on his throwing hand. That's a major factor whether he even makes it through this game or not.
Yeah, we had Coach Bowden on yesterday to talk about that because, he's been a coach for a long time in college football. He understands the game that you play with other coaching staff. So let's start here with John Mateer. The fact that you're just giving the notion to Texas that he might play, that interrupts your defensive structure. Yeah. That gets you ready for a different sort of play caller here. So I want to ask you this question. Non-throwing hand, different story. Mm-hmm. Throwing hand, broken bone a couple weeks ago. Is this too soon to put him out here? Because Joe, if we were in that spot, any athlete worth his salt is like, you know what, Coach, I want to play in this game. It's a monster game. Is he going to be ready, though, to be honest?
Here's the thing. I don't think he'll be ready, and that's why I did see him in practice throwing after the surgery, right? He looked good. It was one throw, and he looked sharp. But the problem is, Donnie, big picture, if you risk him to go out there today, and let's say he plays a quarter or two, and let's say he's not 100%, and he re-injures himself, or let's say he has discomfort.
Gets one more shot.
Or he gets a setback, right? Suffers a minor setback. now he's done potentially for the rest of the season. If you don't start him today, let's just say, and you go with Michael Hawkins, who, by the way, played in this game last year, so he's experienced. They got blown out, but he's at least experienced. You can make the argument if they are an at-large team. Well, Mateer didn't play in the loss to Texas. So from that argument, this is a team that's undefeated, right? So, again, you want to try and win all your games. You want to make it to an SEC championship. But more importantly, you want to make it to the college football playoff. Giving this team the best shot to make the college football playoff would be to rest John Mateer and make sure that he's ready from, let's say, weeks 9 through 14, because they're in the mix right now to potentially be one of those teams.
And Joe brings up a good point, too. You want to go back 15 years. Hey, we're going to rest them. Well, we lost. Well, our season's done.
Right.
You can afford a loss now in college football, and maybe that's what happens. And I'm not saying that they're even going to lose the game just because he doesn't play. But understand this, Joe. Oklahoma and Texas, a 44.5 total in this game. You take a look at Texas, opened up as the favorite, minus 3.5. Now, you see the buybacks because we don't know who the starting quarterback here is going to be for OU. The minute that gets announced, you're going to see even more line movement that we probably have baked into the number already at minus 1.5. But we focus a lot on what we're getting out of Oklahoma. What am I getting out of Texas, Joe? This is a disaster that looks like it's ready to completely go off of the rail.
They have no offensive identity right now. I mean, Arch Manning made some plays last week in garbage time after they trailed by double digits, but they're not running the football effectively, certainly not the way they were last year, where when they won games, Texas, go back to the Clemson in the semifinal playoff game, they were able to rush for over 200 yards. They were able to stay in manageable third down situations. That opened up the play-action passing attack with Quinn Ewers. Now they can't run the football. They're completely one-dimensional. And, oh, by the way, I do not believe Livingston, Wingo, and those are like Isaiah Bond, Gunnar Helm, and certainly Matt Golden last year. They're at a disadvantage in this matchup. And, again, they're going up against one of the best defenses in all of the country. Oklahoma holding opposing offenses to 7 points per game, but one of the best third down defenses in the nation at 17% conversion rate. They're holding opposing offenses less than 3.5 yards per carry. This is going to be a tall order. That's why you're seeing 43.5s, 44s creep into the market right now, because even if Oklahoma and John Mateer doesn't start, they're going to look to run the football and win this just the way they did against Bryce Underwood and Michigan. I give the edge to Oklahoma right now.
Yeah, but Mateer was 100%. They probably smoked Texas, but it's just so interesting to see. Like, again, Florida was a tough game last week because there's a swamp on the road and Florida's talented.
They got punched in the face.
But it just, like, you're struggling. Like, DJ Lagway's struggling on the season. He's supposed to have a great defense. He gets untracked in that game, and he just, like, I just don't like anything I'm seeing out of Texas where I want to put my money on. But then I look at that total, Joe, and say, is it going under like 40 points?
It might. I'll tell you, if you're Texas, you have to push tempo. What's interesting about that game, we talked about Florida had one of the worst conversion rates on third downs. 30%. They converted 50 against that Texas defense last week. That can't happen today.
No, it certainly can't happen. But I'll tell you what, we're going to start talking about some other football games, including the number one team in the country, which is Ohio State, Joe. Is Dick Butkus going to be out there today? Is Red Grange? Is Simeon Rice going to be out there for those that
Howard.
Let's check it out next.
Shedeur Sanders will be starting for the Browns by week 9. I am buying this. I am buying this absolutely. At a certain point, Joe Flacco just not the answer. We know they already made the change. Dylan Gabriel is starting this week. We know that. But maybe a team needs a quarterback, and they're willing to trade for Joe Flacco for some level of stability, and then we simply get nothing out of Dylan Gabriel. He is a rookie quarterback when it's all said and done. Maybe there's just no production from him. So why not just move on to a different rookie quarterback that you have just to see what you have? And then, as George, as you mentioned up at the top, you have to evaluate going into next year's draft. So I will absolutely buy this.
The next 4 weeks, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Miami, New England. I mean, the question is this. If they truly believe that Gabriel could be a future starter, you got to give him more than 4 weeks, right? That's 4 weeks is not enough. Minnesota, it's a rough game, all right, being played, England this week. Pittsburgh, they haven't have a defense. Miami is not very good. New England's supposed to have a good defense, has it here. I'm going to sort of go. I mean, I think Shedeur Sanders is going to start at some point this week. I don't think it's going to be by week 10, although that does make sense here to name him the starter during the bye week, get him 2 weeks here. I'm going to go more, maybe double digits, week 12, week 14, somewhere around there. Because we want to give Gabriel a longer run. I think Gabriel might do some damage here against these lesser defenses here. So I think they give him a longer runway here. That being said, I do not think Gabriel is the long-term future of this team. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback at all here. I think he's a number 2 at best here. Sanders could be a number 1. I have doubts about him too. I think Sanders has a better shot. So by week 9, by week 10, I'll sell that. But if you were to give me a couple more weeks, I would have bought it.
Fantasy Sports Today, Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in. SportsGrid, college football today. Donnie Rightside and Joe Lisi. A lot of games on the docket today. You know we love to hit the biggest games first, which we did, but that doesn't mean we don't have other big games, Joe. Down on the Plains. By the way, you ever been on the Plains? You ever been
No,
to Jordan
never
Hare?
on the Plains, no.
Is it Terry Bowden Field at Jordan Hare Stadium? What do you mean?
Terry will be there today.
You know what?
He'll be on the first
Sound
time
like a little
back for
disrespect
Terry.
from you right there. That answer didn't sound right there.
First time back for Terry.
Wow.
Since he left in 1998, he'll be on the sidelines today.
There you go. And Georgia's in town today. How about that? Top 10 Georgia football team taking on Auburn. If we look at the side itself, Joe, -3.5 at a -120 price, -4s in the sports betting landscape here, and a total of 46 to 47.5. You look at Georgia, sort of trying to make that comeback here in the 2025 season. But is this a spot where Auburn can actually tangle? Because, Joe, we're not talking about, hey, Georgia, can they win the game, but can they cover, favored by 17.5? This is legitimately 3.5 at a lot of outlets right now. How are we feeling about those Tigers?
Yeah, well, Georgia's dominated the series, Donnie. They've won 8 straight, the last 4 by an average margin of victory of 20.2 points per game. So when you see that, and they won last year 31-13. So when you see that spread 3.5, it makes you think, like, why is Georgia a 3.5-point favorite? But when you break it down and you just look at the football aspect, now it is a night game. It's the SEC's oldest rivalry. This is one of the most heated rivalries in the conference. And the fact that it's on the Plains, under the lights, maybe Auburn, we've seen them step up in certain spots. But when you break down the football perspective in this matchup, this offense for Georgia is still hitting on all cylinders. They're running the football. They have the more experienced quarterback in Gunnar Stockton. They have the better defense, I believe. They have the better head coach. And on the flip side for Auburn, you have a quarterback in Jackson Arnold that hasn't answered anything up until this point. Hugh Freeze is 0-2. He's on the hot seat. So, again, I think this line is more, hey, let's get people sucked in to believe in Auburn's legit. Defense is very good. But I just don't see any way that Jackson Arnold makes enough plays in the passing attack to get this victory and certainly cover the 3.5. Might be close for a half, but I think Georgia pulls away in the fourth quarter.
Number 1 team, Joe, in the country, that would be the Ohio State. Not home this weekend in the Horseshoe. On the road in Champaign, taking on the Fighting Illini. This line opened up around 13.5, Joe, but most outlets right now, over 2 touchdowns at -14.5. You look at the total in this game, 51.5 to 52.5 here. Are we worried about Ohio State on the road? It's just going to be business as usual for one of the best defenses in the country.
Well, again, I don't think they're threatened in any way. They've dominated from the series perspective. They have won 6 straight. The last time these teams played back in 2017, so it's 8 years. But again, this could be a line, Donnie, where I think we're right on the number, where maybe Ohio State, again, has a 14-point lead. As long as you get those 14.5s, I believe Brett Bielema and Luka Altmaier and that offense potentially could be within margin. We saw them step up against USC, win that victory as a 6.5-point home dog. This is an opportunity to erase everything that happened against Indiana yet again. I think they can run the football, shorten the game. That's the biggest thing. They can't let this game get into a track meet. Julian Sayin playing very well. Jeremiah Smith could have a huge performance, but I like the under, and I like Illinois with the points.
Let's go to the SEC here, Joe. South Carolina and LSU. Last time we saw LSU, Joe, tough loss there to Ole Miss. You take a look at this price point now, opened up around 10.5 at double digits. We're below that now. 8.5 to 9, depending on where you're shopping at, but a low total of 44.5, which is actually bet up, Joe, from 41.5. LSU rebounding today for your what?
Yeah, I think they could cover. I will say this is going to be a little bit more difficult than what you think, even though it's under the lights for LSU. Go back to this game last year, Donnie. Lenora Sellers had this defense on life support. Yeah. If it wasn't for Garrett Nussmeier pulling it out in the fourth quarter, LSU would have lost. Robbie Ashford had them in a situation to potentially tie that game. They missed the field goal. Here's the thing, though, when you look at this matchup. Mobile quarterbacks give LSU's defense problems. Milroe, Marcel Reed, Lenore Sellers, Trinidad Chambliss 2 weeks ago. I think LSU wins, but I love the total, 44.5. Nussmeier rested. Even though Aaron Anderson doesn't play, I still think they're able to attack South Carolina over the top. I think LSU wins. I think they potentially could cover, but I love the 44.5. Give me points aplenty.
Staying in the SEC right now in the best of the rest here, Joe, Arkansas is going to take on Tennessee. This is interesting. Line opened up around a 12.5 price point here. We're now seeing 10s in the marketplace, a high total, 68.5. You love to see that. But, Joe, I'm not going to say trap game because you have to win every game.
Yep.
Next week on deck for Tennessee, it's Bama.
It is. Third Saturday of October, always difficult. I will say this, though. From an offensive perspective, if they're on, Arkansas could go toe-to-toe with Joey Aguilar. They've won 4 straight in the series, Donnie, including last year, 19-14, by an average margin of victory of 15.5 points per game. We know their defense is terrible, but this game might be in the 60s. Both teams, we can have 50.
Great.
I took it at 12.5. I booked it at 12.5 at the start of the week. Yeah. We're seeing 10.5s creep in.
I
love it. As long as we have 10.5s, I like it. I think Taylor Green, Bobby Petrino wants that job. So they're going to get their best effort. Crazy games in Knoxville with this series, by the way.
Michigan claims to be the victors of the West. They're going to go out west, Joe. Michigan, USC. This line opened up around a -1.5 price point. We're now seeing 2.5 here. Do we get the 3 by the time we get to game time at a total of 56.5? Is this do we have a coming out party for SC? Like, when are we going to show up for SC and say, we're back, Joe?
Donnie,
we're back.
He is the biggest fraud of a head coach, Lincoln Riley. He has done less with more than any other head coach in college football. I think Michigan can run the football. They won this game last year, 27-24. I think they can run it, and I'm just not sold on the USC defense. In a big spot, they always get hit in the mouth.
Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, the battle of the Techs here in the ACC. Let's take a look at overall at this point right now, -14 with a total listed at 55.5. Joe, who wins this one?
This is my best bet of the day, Donnie. I like Georgia Tech a lot. They're coming off a week of rest, and here we talk about Virginia Tech in a certain situation like Oklahoma State was a couple of weeks ago, where you have an interim staff. You're going to give it a best effort. They win one game in the conference against NC State. They had everything in front of them last week. Homecoming, great uniforms, and they lose a very difficult game to Wake Forest. I think personally they could be emotionally checked out. You talk about Georgia Tech, second best team behind Miami. I think they roll 20 points or more. One of my best bets today.
Look at that. Lisi's best bet, best of the rest there. A little Georgia Tech action here, Joe. How about this? Florida and Texas A&M in the SEC. Is Florida gaining steam at this point? Is Billy Napier going to save his job? They got a tough task today because Texas A&M is absolutely legit. This line, Joe, opened up over a touchdown. You know what we're seeing now? 6.5s in the marketplace. A total 47.5. I told you last week, I don't need the points. I'll tell you this week again. I don't need the points. Florida, let's go.
Outright?
I feel like a Gator. Pick up one on the backpack right now.
I tell you what, it's not a bad bet in the sense of if you're going to ride the emotion. It continues, right? It's either they're dead and buried this week if they lose, or they're going to be one of the dark horses potentially to be an at-large if they win out because they'll have quality wins. Marcel Reed, DJ Lagway, maybe you get points right now. We've seen that A&M defense step up and contain Mississippi State last week. They laid 17.5 in that game. I would still lean A&M, but maybe you get the over tonight.
How about that? Should be a fun game to watch. And again, not like I like Florida. I just think they're playing in that spot where you're getting a little still undervalued. Players coming back, Joe, freshmen that look like they could be a big deal today in that game. So keep an eye on that one. Let's keep it moving. How about this? Texas Tech and Kansas. We're going to play this one down in Lubbock, Joe. 11.5 on the look-ahead line. No longer. We're looking at 2 touchdowns plus now as a favorite for the Texas Tech Red Raiders. 59.5 as a total. Kansas on the road. Can they hang in this one?
They can. Now, Texas Tech has won 3 straight in the series. Last time they played, though, was a couple of years ago. It was a wild game with Jalen Daniels in that matchup. They blocked a kick. It went wacky and zany, but I just think it's too many points for Kansas right now. I believe in Texas Tech as being one of the best teams in the Big 12, but just from a scheme perspective, quarterback perspective, I think KU could be within in margin. I do feel we blow through this 59.5. I know Tech has contained multiple offenses in the conference right now, but I think Kansas can eat in this game. Give me the points. Give me the over.
How about that, man? We haven't talked about this team much, Joe. BYU versus Arizona. A line under 3 points, Joe, is a slight road favorite to BYU, taking on Arizona in a total, which the look ahead, Joe, 52.5. Nope. 47.5 now.
Yeah, again, I don't have a feel about the total, but I would take a shot with Arizona right now, 4-1 straight up. You just look at this record, and they're playing above their heads.
Yeah.
I'm just not sold from a speed perspective that BYU, we saw West Virginia move the football on them. Arizona could throw over the top. Playing at home in Tucson, not easy. Give me the points with the Wildcats outright.
Taking the points at this point right now. Big games, big names, big coaches, Joe. That's how we get down here on SportsGrid College Football today. We have a guy coming up next, Coach Terry Bowden. He's going to fill us in, maybe down on the plains. Big games today. How to get your teams ready to dominate on a Saturday. It's going to be coming up next, so don't you go anywhere. Right here. Best of the rest, out of the way. Coach Terry Bowden up next, Joe. Get excited.
Shedeur Sanders will be starting for the Browns by week 9. I am buying this. I am buying this absolutely. At a certain point, Joe Flacco just not the answer. We know they already made the change. Dylan Gabriel is starting this week. We know that. But maybe a team needs a quarterback, and they're willing to trade for Joe Flacco for some level of stability, and then we simply get nothing out of Dylan Gabriel. He is a rookie quarterback when it's all said and done. Maybe there's just no production from him. So why not just move on to a different rookie quarterback that you have just to see what you have? And then, as George, as you mentioned over the top, you have to evaluate going into next year's draft. So I will absolutely buy this.
The next 4 weeks, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Miami, New England. I mean, the question is this. If they truly believe that Gabriel could be a future starter, you got to give him more than 4 weeks, right? That's 4 weeks is not enough. Minnesota, that's a rough game, all right, being played, England this week. Pittsburgh, they haven't have a defense. Miami is not very good. New England's supposed to have a good defense, hasn't here. I want to sort of go. I mean, I think Shedeur Sanders is going to start at some point this week. I don't think it's going to be by week 10, although that does make sense here to name him the starter during the bye week, get him 2 weeks here. I'm going to go more, maybe double digits, week 12, week 14, somewhere around there. Because I'm going to want to give Gabriel a longer run. I think Gabriel might do some damage here against these lesser defenses here. So I think give him a longer runway here. That being said, I do not think Gabriel is the long-term future of this team. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback at all here. I think he's a number 2 at best here. Sanders could be a number 1. I have doubts about him too. I think Sanders has a better shot. So by week 9, by week 10, I'll sell that. But if you're going to give me a couple more weeks, I would have bought it.
Fantasy Sports Today. Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Only on SportsGrid.
We're ready. SportsGrid College Football today, one of my favorite segments each and every week. It's Donnie Rightside. It's Joe Lisi. Now we bring in the coach, Terry Bowden. When there's big games out here, we need a big game coach. Coach Terry, welcome into the program.
Thank you. So great to be here right now in Auburn, Alabama, waiting for the Auburn-Georgia football game tonight. I'll be there live and in person.
Perfect stuff. And the reason why we love this too, Coach, you've been around a lot of big football games here. You're going to enjoy that day today. We're going to circle back in just a little bit of what's going to take place at Auburn. But I got questions for you here. Alabama, Missouri, SEC battle on the road. Teams rested and ready to give it a go. Is this Alabama's day, or is it going to be, you know what? Missouri's here to stay in the SEC, Coach.
Well, I think Missouri is the most underappreciated team in the SEC. They have been good for 2 or 3 years. Drinkwitz has done a great job there. But Alabama's on a roll. They're playing great football. Ty Simpson is the guy. The key will be Ahmad Hardy, the running back from ULM, my old team, leading rusher in the nation. If they can limit him, not stop, but limit him to half, Alabama walks out there and covers the spread.
Oof. Coach, when you look at the defensive perspective from Missouri, they're very good in run support. How can they contain Ty Simpson? He's been hot as a pistol. He throws for 340 last week against Vanderbilt. Certainly stepped up on the road a couple weeks ago against Georgia. What can Missouri do to potentially at least limit Ty Simpson in this game?
Well, you got to put pressure. Well, first of all, you got to stop the run. You can't let him run the football because that gives him easy, manageable passing situations. But there is a way to put pressure on the quarterback and blitz through the run. Bring a number of people that can also stop the run and get to the quarterback. But I'll say this, if they do, the caveat is what? Those great receivers at Alabama will burn you one-on-one. So you're taking a risk, but I think that's what Missouri has got to do to win this football game.
Should be a fun one to watch in the SEC. Coach, another great one here in the Pacific Northwest, and that game's going to take place in Oregon. Indiana versus Oregon. Two fantastic offensive coaches here. And I want to ask you a two-part question, Coach. Number one, obviously, who's going to win this football game? But number two, you've played in a lot of loud stadiums before. Austin certainly is way up there. How do you prepare your football team to get ready for that type of an environment as well?
Austin is as tough as any place. I didn't coach there, but I broadcasted there. I mean, they can pour their bourbon and cokes on your head from the bleachers. That's how close they are to the field, and they will do that too. But they've got a 18-game home winning streak right now, and they're a great football team. But there's no pretender here. This is not an indication that Indiana will look to be a pretender. I think these are both contenders, both very good quarterbacks, very good football teams, but Oregon has the best secondary in the country. I think it'll show up. I think Indiana has an outstanding running game. It will have to come through. At the end of the day, Oregon's quarterback a little better. Oregon's talent a little better. At Allison Field, a lot better. Oregon will cover.
Coach, I know you know Kirk Cignetti very well.
Yeah.
Talk to me about potentially, what he could do a little bit differently on the road because, again, the last time he stepped up against Notre Dame and against Ohio State, a step up in competition, they didn't win those games, were severely outmanned in the trenches. But what can he do from the coaching advantage to potentially pull out this victory?
Well, I think any coach will learn from their mistakes or will learn what they've done wrong. But let me go back. I've known Kurt since he was 5 years old. His father was my dad's offensive coordinator at West Virginia. His father was my head coach, one of the brightest offensive minds. Kurt has years and years of people explaining him how to handle an away game, how to handle an away game where you're an underdog. Do you let them watch TV? Do you bring them together? Do you do this? Do you have walkthroughs? What the day-to-day routine is the Friday and the Saturday of a game. He'll know what to do because he's been raised a football coach and he's been a head coach a long time. I don't care if you're Division III or Division 1A. The pregame preparation is the same wherever you are. So it's a big game. He's been in big games. And remember, this is a better football team than it was last year. He's building this program, and he knows how to build it. So we've got to assume some of the things like Ohio State, Oregon games last year where he lost late in the season, he's getting better. And I don't think he'll win this game because he's got a great team. He's playing on the road. But I think he knows how to handle the environment and the situation that's at hand.
Great stuff here from Coach Terry Bowden with us today on Saturday. We have him each and every week. Let's get to the big rivalry today, Coach. That's the Red River rivalry. That's Oklahoma and Texas. And again, love to have the coaching perspective here. John Mateer, he wants to play. Coaches don't like to give that much information away. So number one, is Mateer going to play today, do you believe? Or also, is he just going to be used as a pawn to make sure that Texas has to worry about him, Coach?
Yeah, I won't believe it till I see it. College coaches are not in tune with giving the right information like the NFL is. I'm sure the quarterback will tell you, I'm ready to play, coach. I'm ready to play. But the coaches and the doctors will make that decision. If he's half ready or partially ready, that's not ready enough for a quarterback. My thoughts are, if he plays, no matter what Texas does, that 1.5 is going to go to Oklahoma. But if he doesn't, I'm right here right now saying Texas back to the wall. Texas has a very good football team. They have to win this game or they're out of the playoff possibilities. All Manning needs to do is not play super. Just manage the offense. Play clean, hit the open receiver, and don't turn the ball over. And I think Texas will pull off the upset against a very, very good Oklahoma team whose defense statistically is a little bit overrated because of the 3 non-conference games they had.
Coach, when you look at Texas, we talked about offensive identity. What is the biggest change from what you saw last year with Quinn Ewers to what we see Arch Manning inconsistent and struggling at least through 6 weeks of the season?
I just think they've tried to manage Arch Manning too much. They've tried to, how can we have a game plan that brings him along slowly? How can we have a game plan against somebody that's not very good where he throws it 1,000,000 times? Everything's been built around making him feel better and progress. Let's play football. You've got great running backs. You got great receivers. You do have good people on the line. Let's go run, pass, do the things you need to do for the offensive team to win. I think they've paid too much attention to what do we got to do to get Arch ready to be good down the road. Now they just need to focus on what they need to do as a football team. Just play clean, hit open receivers, and don't turn it over, and you'll have done your job.
Coach, let's head down to the Plains, which you'll be today. That's Georgia and Auburn. And you know as well as I do, when you have close games in the SEC, they don't win. There's no moral victories there. You got to win. They're getting points from Georgia today. What's the outlook between Georgia and Auburn?
I'm telling you, 3.5 points is about right. But let me tell you why I got an interesting touch on this game. Last time I was here, 1997, I was coaching on the sideline for Georgia. The defensive back at Auburn, the defensive back at Georgia was Kirby Smart. He was on the field also. That's how long it's been. But it's a night game at Auburn against Georgia. This is the oldest game in the South, 1893. The upsets happen all the time. And again, I would just say, Georgia, if they play their best, Auburn has to do some things right. Quarterback's got to play a good game, got to play better offense. But you know what? At the end of the day, I've got orange and blue on. They're going to kick a field goal and win the game for Auburn.
I'm starting the petition. I need to get signatures for Coach Terry Bowden-Field at Jordan-Hare. How's that sound down there, Coach? How's that one sound? There we go. Love the Coach. We'll see him again next week. Enjoy the day, Coach.
Thank you, man.
Shedeur Sanders will be starting for the Browns by week 9. I am buying this. I am buying this absolutely. At a certain point, Joe Flacco just not the answer. We know they already made the change. Dylan Gabriel is starting this week. We know that. But maybe a team needs a quarterback, and they're willing to trade for Joe Flacco for some level of stability, and then we simply get nothing out of Dylan Gabriel. He is a rookie quarterback when it's all said and done. Maybe there's just no production from him. So why not just move on to a different rookie quarterback that you have just to see what you have? And then, as George, as you mentioned up at the top, you have to evaluate going into next year's draft. So I will absolutely buy this.
The next 4 weeks, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Miami, New England. I mean, the question is this. If they truly believe that Gabriel could be a future starter, you got to give him more than 4 weeks, right? That's 4 weeks is not enough. Minnesota, it's a rough game, all right, being played, England this week. Pittsburgh, they haven't have a defense. Miami is not very good. New England's supposed to have a good defense, has it here. I'm going to sort of go. I mean, I think Shedeur Sanders is going to start at some point this week. I don't think it's going to be by week 10, although that does make sense here to name him the starter during the bye week, get him 2 weeks here. I'm going to go more, maybe double digits, week 12, week 14, somewhere around there. Because I want to give Gabriel a longer run. I think Gabriel might do some damage here against these lesser defenses here. So I think they give him a longer runway here. That being said, I do not think Gabriel is the long-term future of this team. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback at all here. I think he's a number 2 at best here. Sanders could be a number 1. I have doubts about him too. I think Sanders has a better shot. So by week 9, by week 10, I'll sell that. But if you were to give me a couple more weeks, I would have bought it.
Fantasy Sports Today, Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern, only on SportsGrid.
Time for the Wrap Pack right now. You know the drill. Each and every week, last segment before we get to hour number 2, SportsGrid College Football Today, Donnie Rightside and Joe Lisi. We get to the games that matter to us. Maybe not to you out there, Joe.
You love this segment. You nicknamed this segment. You sort of put your mark on it with the rats with the cash.
There's rats.
Right? And they're the garbage games. Although one of the games...
What are you saying, rats hang out in garbage? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, they do. Hang out in New York City. You'll see it.
A lot of rats in New York City. That's the way it is, man. Hey, we don't want to throw any names out there. Exactly.
Philly, too. Yeah, we don't talk about that.
But here's the time. Can I get an ISO? Come on. Give me the ISO over here.
Give me the ISO. He wants the camera.
Look, I'm going to get nice and comfortable right now. I've been telling you people out there, yes, you people, about the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. My connection to the Irish growing up as a kid. I hated that team. But they called me at the network the most unbiased man here, which means I'm giving you the information straight from the mouth here. You don't have to go anywhere. You get it from me. Notre Dame's first 2 games of the season, they lost to Miami. Nobody's beaten Miami, one of the best teams. Miami might beat a couple pro teams right now. Texas A&M, I think they might lose today, but don't worry about that. A&M's one of the best teams on the planet right now. I said, how could Notre Dame be able to beat both of those teams? They didn't beat any of them, but don't you worry, Joe. 56 versus Purdue, 56 versus Arkansas. 28-7 domination over Boise State. They take on NC State today as an absolute monster favorite of 24.5, up from 23.5. 3 touchdowns were expected. And look at that. Look at the climb, Joe. You see who's next to him right there? I should be on Mount Everest.
No,
you know what I mean?
You're not going to make it to the end. You're going to fall off a cliff.
What do they call it? Free base? I don't even need nets. I'm climbing up by myself.
You're going to fall off a cliff. They still have to play games again.
They don't have to play. They're the best, Joe. They're the best. Best backfield out there. CJ Carr. Like, why don't
2 weeks ago, I was with you with the Arkansas.
Like,
I'm not buying it.
Like,
I'm not buying it.
See where he's sitting on the desk right now. Next week, he's going to sit here. Next week, he's here. Maybe even sit on my lap by week 8 or 9.
No, not going to happen. Listen, they're definitely going to win today. No doubt. But I'm going to take the points with NC State. You want to give me 23.5, 24? This is an offense that's still putting up 30-plus points per game. From a series perspective, it's 2-2. They've only played 4 times, which is interesting. NC State won the first 2. Notre Dame won the last 2 meetings. You know how much they won by? 21 points per game.
Smack them.
22.5, 23 is higher. I'll take the 23.5 again. If you took Boise last week, you got it late, you covered, right on the number.
Yep.
I think this is priced right in the area. They might win it 42-21, but I think NC State backdoors it.
Look, I give it to you straight. Again, the most unbiased person
on the
SportsGrid network. I give it to you like it is.
Donnie.
Notre Dame heavy favorite. Look, the rat knows with the cash. You're the guy in the chain right there, not believing. That's me with the hat cashing tickets on Notre Dame moving towards a college football playoff. Now, let's set the table for this one. I laughed last week. I always laugh when Penn State loses. Joe? Laughing, let's not laugh anymore. They blow out the doors off Northwestern today. This feels like a James Franklin reach-back special where we try to rub it in and like everything is. See Sad Valley right there? Not even the Tigers have. By the way, does that Tiger have a nickname? Does he even have a name? I know he's the Nittany Lion, but does he have a name?
I don't know.
Like Said the Tiger?
I can't even see that.
Tiger,
I need glasses.
Joe Lisi the Tiger right there. We could put you in there.
Here's the bottom line.
3 touchdowns.
They limped it.
3 touchdowns.
I mean, I would still take the point. I would still take the points with Northwestern. I don't buy into James Franklin. Obviously, if it was previous years, they would smack these out-of-conference opponents. They started slow. They didn't even beat Villanova up earlier in the year. They limped through that matchup. Now they're in Big Ten play. We saw Neuheisel get carried off. They came out so flat last week, Donnie.
Like a cartoon character, Neuheisel's kid, man. Hilarious.
This game is meaning it'll go down the spread. I think it'll be right on the spread.
Roll them.
Northwestern will find a way to come. I can't. This team has no idea. This team is gutless.
They're going to cancel. They're going to cancel the renovations, Joe. They're going to foreclose on the new Beaver Stadium. Not going to be able to sell tickets. He doesn't win games. He's got to blow the doors off of Northwestern today, Joe.
Donnie, you and everybody else is feeling that way. That's the problem.
The best quarterback in college football. You ain't stopping him.
Okay.
Penn State couldn't stop him.
I can't look Penn State in this game. It's not a game I'm going to be betting today. But again, if I had to bet this game, I would take the points with Northwestern. Are they even this team is totally down and out. Now there's, in their mind, nothing to play for until they go
Have a whiteout today. Have a whiteout knock off Northwestern.
Donnie, they play Ohio State November 5th. Maybe by then they can get up there and potentially play well. But I can't buy in now. After that performance last week, Franklin, they're talking about the buyout for James Franklin. Come on now.
You know what a good landing spot for James Franklin would be? Kent State.
Vanderbilt.
Kent State. That's why we're talking right now. Kent State, UMass, Joe. Give me the game of the decade here. Kent State, who can't score, is a favorite today. Is this a game where you flip that coin and be like, boop, okay, UMass. Up, this one says Kent State.
You're going to love
2.5.
2.5. I would lean Kent State. Team total, Kent State. Over.
Like, what is it? Like, honestly, their team total was 3.5 last week. Their team total today with a 50.5-point total is what, 25, 26 points?
Let's go over. Let's take it today.
We got to take it again.
That's the family
there
play.
It is. Family, La Familia here. No rats in the equation. You only see the rats in the background right here with the chains and the cash and the money. But I'm telling you right now, you heard me talk about Notre Dame, Joe. I love this. We're going to talk about this for weeks 8, 9, 10, 11,
Not
12,
gonna happen,
however many
Don.
we need. Notre Dame fighting Irish people. I told you here first. Hour number 2 is coming up next. The biggest games, the biggest bets, and the best props. Come on back.
Shedeur Sanders will be starting for the Browns by week 9. I am buying this. I am buying this absolutely. At a certain point, Joe Flacco just not the answer. We know they already made the change. Dylan Gabriel's starting this week. We know that. But maybe a team needs a quarterback, and they're willing to trade for Joe Flacco for some level of stability, and then we simply get nothing out of Dylan Gabriel. He is a rookie quarterback when it's all said and done. Maybe there's just no production from him. So why not just move on to a different rookie quarterback that you have just to see what you have? And then, as George, as you mentioned up at the top, you have to evaluate going into next year's draft. So I will absolutely buy this.
The next 4 weeks, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Miami, New England. I mean, the question is this. If they truly believe that Gabriel could be a future starter, you got to give him more than 4 weeks, right? That's 4 weeks is not enough. Minnesota, it's a rough game, all right, being played, England this week. Pittsburgh, they haven't have a defense. Miami is not very good. New England's supposed to have a good defense, has it here. I want to sort of go. I mean, I think Shedeur Sanders is going to start at some point this week. I don't think it's going to be by week 10, although that does make sense here to name him the starter during the bye week, get him 2 weeks here. I'm going to go more, maybe double digits, week 12, week 14, somewhere around there. Because I want to give Gabriel a longer run. I think Gabriel might do some damage here against these lesser defenses here. So I like to give him a longer runway here. That being said, I do not think Gabriel is the long-term future of this team. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback at all here. I think he's a number 2 at best here. Sanders could be a number 1. I have doubts about him too. I think Sanders has a better shot. So by week 9, by week 10, I'll sell that. But if you were to give me a couple more weeks, I would have bought it.
Fantasy Sports Today, Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern, only on SportsGrid.